Bingo. Happy Sunday, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm excited. Last night we met up at this potluck here in Mexico, in Merida, Mexico, and we also went to the Wiz, see the Wiz play as well. Um, but I'm excited this morning. Had such great conversations. We stayed up late last night. We had such great conversations with a group of people, and it's just always been a blessing when you can connect and meet people from different places all over the world. It's amazing, and it's amazing to see the people's where they are in their journey and where they're going. So I'm happy about that, and it makes me think about the story that we're reading about Joseph. And so today we're reading Genesis 41 and 42, just two chapters today. So let's get started. Genesis 41, Pharaoh's dreams. 2 years later, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile River. Hold on, let me turn my do not disturb on. Okay. 2 years later, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile River. In the dream, 7 cows came out of the river and stood there eating grass. They were healthy, good-looking cows. Then 7 more cows came out of the river and stood on the bank of the river by the healthy cows. But these cows were thin and looked sick. The 7 sick cows ate the 7 healthy cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. Pharaoh went back to sleep and began dreaming again. This time he dreamed that he saw 7 heads of grain growing on one plant. They were healthy and full of grain. Then he saw 7 more heads of grain sprouting, but they were thin and scorched by the hot wind. The thin heads of grain ate the 7 good heads of grain. Then Pharaoh woke up again and realized it was only a dream. The next morning, Pharaoh was worried about these dreams, so he sent for all the musicians and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh told these men the dreams, but none of them could explain the dreams. The servant tells Pharaoh about Joseph. Then the wise servant remembered Joseph and said to Pharaoh, I remember something about something that happened to me. You were angry with the baker and me, and you put us in prison. Then one night, he and I had a dream. Each dream had a different meaning. There was a young Hebrew man in prison with us. He was a servant of the commander of the guards. We told him our dreams, and he explained them to us. He told us the meaning of each dream, and what he said came true. He said I would be free and have my old job back, and it happened. He also said the baker would die, and it happened. Joseph is called to explain the dreams. So Pharaoh called Joseph from the prison. The guards quickly got Joseph out of prison. Joseph shaved, put on some clean clothes, and went to see Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream, and no one can explain it to me or for me. I heard you can explain dreams when someone tells you about them. Joseph answered, I cannot, but God can explain the dream for you, Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, in my dream I was standing by the Nile River. 7 cows came up out of the river and stood there eating the grass. They were healthy, good-looking cows. Then I saw 7 more cows come up out of the river after them, but these cows were thin and looked sick. They were the worst cows I had ever seen anywhere in Egypt. Then the thin cows ate the first healthy cows, but they still looked thin and sick. You couldn't even tell they had eaten the healthy cows. They looked as thin and sick as they did in the beginning. Then I woke up. In my next dream, I saw 7 heads of grain growing on one plant. They were healthy and full of grain. And then 7 more heads of grain grew after them, but they were thin and scorched by the hot wind. Then the heads of grain, ate the 7 good heads of grain. I told these dreams to my magicians, but no one could explain the dreams to me. What do they mean? Joseph explains the dream. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, both of these dreams have the same meaning. God is telling you what will happen soon. The 7 good cows and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 good years. And the 7 thin, sick looking cows and the 7 thin heads of grain mean that there will be 7 years of hunger in this area. These 7 bad years will come after 7 good years. God has shown you what will happen soon. He will make these things happen just as I told you. For 7 years, there will be plenty of food in Egypt, but then there will be 7 years of hunger. The people will forget how much food there had been in Egypt before. This famine will ruin the country. It will be so bad that the people will forget what it was like to have plenty of food. Pharaoh, you had two dreams about the same thing. That means God wanted to show you that He really will make this happen, and He will make it happen soon. So Pharaoh, you should choose a wise, intelligent man and put him in charge of Egypt. Then you should choose other men to collect food from the people. During the 7 good years, the people must give them 1/5 of all the food they grow. In this way, these men will collect all the food during the 7 good years and store it in the cities until it is needed. Pharaoh, this food will be under your control. Then, during the 7 years of hunger, there will be food for the country of Egypt, and Egypt will not be destroyed by the famine. This seemed like a very good idea to Pharaoh and all his officials, and all his officials agreed. Then Pharaoh told them, I don't think we can find anyone better than Joseph to take this job. God's spirit is with him, it's in him, making him very wise. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, God showed you these things to you, so you must be the wisest man. I will put you in charge of the country, and the people will obey all your commands. I will be the only one more powerful than you. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I now make you governor over all of Egypt. Then Pharaoh gave his special ring to Joseph. The royal seal was on this ring. Pharaoh also gave Joseph a fine linen robe and put a gold chain around his neck. Then he told Joseph to ride in his second chariot. Pharaoh's officials said, let him be the over the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh said to him, I am Pharaoh, the king over everyone in Egypt. But no one else in Egypt can lift a hand or move a foot unless you say he can. Then Pharaoh gave Joseph another name, Zaphnath Paneah. He also gave Joseph a wife named Asenath. She was the daughter of Potiphar, a priest in the city of On. So Joseph became the governor over the whole country of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he began serving the king of Egypt. He traveled throughout the country of Egypt. During the 7 good years, the crops in Egypt grew very well. Joseph saved the food in Egypt during those 7 years and stored the food in the cities. In every city, he stored grain that grew in the fields around the city. Joseph stored so much grain that it was like the sands of the sea. He stored so much grain that it could not be measured. Joseph's wife, Asenath, was the daughter of Potiphar, the priest in the city of On. Before the first year of hunger came, Joseph and Asenath had two sons. Joseph named the first son Manasseh. He was given the name because Joseph said, God made me forget all my hard work and everything back home in my father's house. Joseph named the second son Ephraim. Joseph gave him this name because he said, I had great troubles, but God has made me successful in everything. The famine begins. For 7 years, people had all the food they needed, but those years ended. Then the 7 years of hunger began, just as Joseph had said. No food grew anywhere in any of the countries in that area. But in Egypt, people had plenty to eat because Joseph had stored the grain. The famine began, and the people cried to Pharaoh for food. Pharaoh said to the Egyptian people, Go ask Joseph what to do. There was famine everywhere, so Joseph gave the people grain from the warehouses. He sold the grain. He sold the stored grain to the people of Egypt. The famine was bad in Egypt, but the famine was bad everywhere. So people from the countries around Egypt had to come to Joseph in Egypt to buy grain. Genesis 42. The dreams come true. During the famine in Canaan, Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt. So he said to his sons, Why are you sitting here doing nothing? I've heard that there is grain for sale in Egypt. Go there and buy grain for us, so that we will live and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went to Egypt to buy grain. Jacob did not send Benjamin. Benjamin was Joseph's only full brother. And also in the previous video, I had said that Joseph was the youngest, but Joseph had a younger brother, Benjamin, and he was the youngest. Jacob was afraid that something bad might happen to Benjamin. The famine was very bad in Canaan, so there were many people from Canaan who went to Egypt to buy grain. Among them were the sons of Israel. Joseph was the governor of Egypt at the time. He was the one who checked the sale of grain to the people who came to Egypt to buy it. Joseph's brothers came to him and bowed before him. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted like he didn't know them. He was rude when he spoke to them. He said, "Where do you come from?" The brothers answered, "We have come from the land of Canaan to buy food." Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not know who he was. Then Joseph remembered the dreams that he had dreamed about his brothers. Joseph said to his brothers, "You have not come to buy food. You are spies. You came to learn where we are weak." But the brothers said to him, "No, sir. We come as your servants. We have come only to buy food. We are all brothers. We all have the same father. We are honest men. We have come only to buy food." Then Joseph said to them, "No, you have come to spy on us." And his brothers said, "No, sir. We have come as servants from Canaan. We are all brothers, the sons of the same father. There were 12 brothers in our family. Our youngest brother is still at home with our father. The other brother died a long time ago." But Joseph said to them, "No, I can see that I am right. You are spies, but I will let you prove that you are telling the truth. In the name of Pharaoh, I swear that I will not let you go until your youngest brother come here. One of you must go back to get your youngest brother, while the rest of you stay here in prison. Then we can prove whether you are telling the truth or not. If you are not telling the truth, then by Pharaoh, I swear that you are spies." Then Joseph put them all in prison for 3 days. The trouble begins. After 3 days, Joseph said to them, "I am a God-fearing man. Do this, and I will let you live. If you are honest men, one of your brothers can stay here in prison, and the others can go and carry grain back to your people. But then you must bring your youngest brother back here to me. Then I will know that you are telling the truth, and you will not have to die." The brothers agreed to this. They said to each other, "We are being punished for the bad thing we did to our younger brother Joseph. We saw the trouble he was in. He begged us to save him, but we refused to listen. So now we are in trouble." Then Reuben said to them, "I told you not to do anything bad to that boy, but you refused to listen to me. Now we are being punished for his death." Joseph was using an interpreter to talk to his brothers, so the brothers did not know that he understood their language. He said and understood everything they said, and that made him want to cry. So he turned away and left the room. When he came back, he took one of the brothers, Simeon, and tied him up while the others watched. Joseph told the servants to fill the bags with grain. The brothers had given Joseph the money for grain, but he didn't keep the money. He put the money in their bags of grain. Then he gave them what they would need for their trip back home. So the brothers put the grain on their donkeys and left. That night, the brothers stopped at a place to spend the night. One of the brothers opened his sack to get some grain for his donkey, and there in the sack he saw his money. He said to the other brothers, "Look, here's the money I paid for the grain. Someone put the money back in my sack." The brothers were very afraid. They said to one another, "What is God doing to us?" The brothers report to Jacob. The brothers went back to their family, Jacob, in the land of Canaan. They told him about everything that had happened. They said, "The governor of that country spoke rudely to us. He thought that we were spies. We told him we are honest men, not spies. There are 12 of us brothers, from the same father. But one of our brothers is no longer living, and the youngest is still at home with our father in Canaan." Then the governor of that country said to us, "Here's a way to prove that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Take your grain back to your families. Bring your youngest brother to me. Then I will know that you are honest men, or if you were sent from an army to destroy us. If you are telling the truth, I will give your brother back to you. I will give him to you. and you will be free to buy grain in our country." Then the brothers started taking the grain out of their sacks, and every brother found his bag of money and his sack of grain. When the brothers and their father saw the money, they were afraid. Jacob said to them, "Do you want me to lose all of my children? Joseph is gone, Simeon is gone, and now you want to take Benjamin away too?" But Reuben said to his father, "Father, you may kill my two sons if I don't bring Benjamin back to you. Trust me, I will bring him back to you." But Jacob said, "I will not let Benjamin go with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only son from my wife Rachel. It would kill me if anything happened to him during the trip to Egypt. You would send me to the grave, a very sad old man." All right. And that is Genesis 41 and 42. So let's talk about it. Okay. So we pop off Genesis 41. Um, Pharaoh have these two dreams. The first dream, he dreamed about a good, healthy looking good calves or cows. And they came up out the river, and they were standing by the river, and they was eating, and they was healthy. Then seven more cows came out the river and stood on the bank by the healthy cows, and they looked thin and sick. And then weird enough, um, weird enough, the sick, thin looking cows ate the healthy cows. So then he woke up, and then he went back to sleep. And he had another dream where seven heads of grain had grew on this plant, and they was healthy and full of grain. And then seven more heads of grain sprouted, and they was thin and scorched by the hot wind. And crazy enough, again, the thin ones and the ones that were scorched by the wind ate the healthy ones. And so he woke up again, and um, he was confused and just wanted to know. He was worried about the dreams, and he wanted to know what the dreams meant. So he sent for his magicians and wise men to try to explain it to him, but they couldn't explain it. And so finally, in the story, um, the wine, the guy that carried the wine for Pharaoh, that held his wine cup, finally remembered Joseph. And so he told him about Joseph, because Joseph was the one that told him about his dream, that he would be back into his job, and told him about the baker that would die by the Pharaoh. So the wine servant told Pharaoh about Joseph. So he told him to go get Joseph. So Joseph came, and basically Pharaoh was saying that, "Oh, you're the one that can tell dreams." Joseph like, "Nah, it's not me. It's God. It's the God in me. It's God that can tell you, that can discuss your dream." So Pharaoh tell him about the dream, and Joseph explains it and says that basically the seven cows eating the seven healthy cows eating the seven thin cows, and the seven grain hold on, I said that wrong. The seven thin um, and sick cows eating the healthy cows, and then the seven the grains, the heads of grain, the thin ones and the scorched by wind ones eating the healthy ones, meant that there would be 7 years of of harvest. There'll be 7 years of harvest, and then there'll also be 7 years of famine. And he was saying that the reason why you had two dreams is because this is coming very soon. Um, and so what happens after that? Okay, so once Pharaoh found out about this, well, Joseph explained to him that in order to prepare for this, he needed to um, tell the people to bring in the food, and he needed somewhere to store it. And so, and it crazy how when God uses your gift, and like with Joseph, he was just using his gift. He didn't know that this would lead to something else. And so it turned out Joseph went from being in prison to now he is the second command in the whole country of Egypt. Like he is right under the Pharaoh. Pharaoh promoted him to be the one that's over the getting the food from all the people, and like he put him second in command, second in his second chariot. Like he basically, if he passed, Joseph is in charge. So like he promoted him all the way up, and it's just crazy how you can go from the bottom all the way up to the top. Like man, that's huge, and that's relation in a lot of our lives for sure. So yeah, so he promoted Joseph. Joseph is now the second in command. He's doing what he said it would happen, and they're getting the food from the people and storing it up. And so it was, they had harvest, 7 years of harvest. So once the 7 years of famine started, nobody had anything, but the king, the Pharaoh, and Joseph stored food up, so they got all the food and they were able to distribute it. And so it wasn't just a famine that was in Egypt; it was a famine everywhere. And so people was coming from different countries to come to Joseph to get food. Ain't that crazy? How man, um, God will put you in a place to where you are the person giving out the resources when you used to be the one struggling and hurting and in pain and needing the help. And now he's promoted to so high up that he's under the person that was in control. Okay. And so now we see Joseph and his brothers is also affected by the famine. His brothers and his father. His father sends them out to Egypt because he learned that they had stored the grain and they was giving out the grain, and they was like basically they was going through the famine. They needed it. He like it's either we die or we go get some grain from Egypt, not knowing that his son was in charge of it. So his brothers come, um, and they bow down just like in his dream. Ain't that crazy? They bow down just like in Joseph's dream, and they don't even know. They don't even realize that they are serving or that their brother is still alive and he's in control. He's basically like the governor. He's giving out the grain and the food. So Joseph don't initially tell them that who he is. He just allows them to do what they do. Um, he he accuses them of being spies, but really he just wanted to see his brother Benjamin, and so basically he takes one. He puts them in prison for 3 days, and he told them that they can basically be here in prison. Somebody can go, or one brother can stay in prison while the others go back to their father. He gave them some grain, but he also gave their money back that they was paying for the grain and put it in their sacks without telling them. So he sent them back to go get his younger brother Benjamin, and then this is where we see his father kind of have a moment where it's like kind of like like not like a resistance. Like he said he already lost his son, which was Joseph, and then Simeon was the brother that was put in prison till they came back. And then, so it was just like a whole full of emotions, and they're just trying to promise their dad that they're gonna bring back their younger brother. And so, man, this story is just a story of forgiveness. It's a story of redemption. Like it's a story of how I don't want to tell it. I don't want to tell it because it's coming. It's coming at the end. But but man, this has blessed me. I'm not sure if it's blessing y'all. But this is really blessing me. And honestly, I'm not even worried about how many people join this, how many people see this. This is more so like a getting understanding for myself, but not in a selfish way. Like I wanted to share my journey so that if anybody find these videos and they like my style and like the way I talk and they like the way I read, then maybe they'll be blessed too. So it's more so like a journal of every day getting deeper into the word, really reading for understanding, praying, um, and just seeking God, man. But I've been kind of going longer than I usually do. So y'all have a blessed day. Y'all stay safe. Um, and just continue to show up. Peace.